All right, are we ready?
Yes. Is it okay if I go now?
Yep, let's go.
All right. Welcome, guys, to I Survived High School. We have 5 speakers today, and I hope you enjoy.
All right.
So we have 5 speakers today, starting with Dylan, who's a rising senior at Basis Phoenix. Then we have Kashish, who's a 2020 graduate from Arizona College Preparatory. Then Mia, who's a rising junior at Arizona School of the Arts, and Zeel, who's a rising sophomore at ASU.
All right, perfect. So let me share this. All right, so what I'm going to be talking about today is balancing your life throughout high school, because when I was a freshman, I found that very difficult. But, going throughout my high school career, I found a few tips and tricks on how to kind of smooth everything out just so that I wasn't getting too stressed, but while also like maintaining good grades throughout high school. All right, so perfect. So the 3 main things that I like to focus on whenever I'm kind of just, starting a new school year is how much homework I'm expected to have, extracurriculars and events, and having a social life both inside and outside of school. At my school, a lot of students are really, really focused on homework and studying, but I think that it's super important to have a balance with everything, just because, we're also growing up and we're teenagers, and we shouldn't just be putting like all of our time on homework and studying, because it's about like everything too, and just doing stuff outside of school, because all of that is important. And with practice and patience, obviously, it becomes a lot easier to manage your time. All right. So the first thing I'm going to say is get a planner. I would because lifesaver. So, obviously, you put your homework in there is the best thing. Then also other things outside of school. So if you're in a sport, like if you have like a tournament coming up on the or like a game thing, then you could add that in there, because it does come up the amount of meeting teachers to like what I have to do after school, and same with like doctor's appointments and stuff like that. I think just once it's like right, take a little bit of time to make sure you know everything that you have to do for that, but it's definitely totally a game plan what you're expected to do. Right. And of how much homework. I knew a lot of students that, they could do homework for just 3 hours straight and get everything done, and then they'll go to bed. Whereas like me personally and like some of my other friends, they would do like homework for like 45 minutes to an hour. They take a 10-minute break, and then, all that in intervals. And I just think that knowing that, obviously it's going to take some time to kind of figure out what's good for you and what's not good for you. I think that knowing that will help prevent like any stress and stuff like that, because, obviously we're still like experiencing a bunch of things like outside of school and inside of school. So just managing your time and knowing like what stresses you out will really help reduce that stress once you kind of get like an image of how many breaks you need and how long your breaks need to be. All right, so how I split my time was, like I said earlier, homework, extracurriculars, and social events. So extracurriculars, I think, are very, very important. And they could also be, they could like kind of tie in with the social events as well. So I did cross country. That was my like sport and extracurricular. So I would always know like, okay, cross country took an hour after school or an hour and a half. So that means I have this much time when I get home, once I get showered and once I had dinner and everything like that, I had this much time to do my homework. So maybe throughout the day during lunch, I had an hour of lunch. I would do like maybe just 20 minutes of homework. If I had more, then I'd maybe take the whole lunch period to get some homework done, just so that when I get home, I know I'm going to be tired after sport or whatever extracurricular, even if it's not a sport, if it's like a club where you like, I don't know, there's like cool science clubs. Some of that, you know, just being there for too long, it kind of takes a toll on you sometimes. So just knowing how much time you have after school once you get home. And then social events, I think, are a great opportunity to, it's like killing two birds with one stone. You're doing things with your friends and you're also being involved in school. I know that when I was a freshman, that like, you know, if it's a social event, that means it's at school. And because it's at school, it's not really the same as being with your friends, you know, on like a weekend. And even though it is at school, it's still like super fun to like be there. And so I think that having social events is both an opportunity to do things with your friends while also doing a lot of things at school. So don't just like have that mindset that because it's a school thing that it's like stressful and doesn't count as doing something with your friends. Because I knew I used to think that a lot. Knowing your priorities as well, that one is super important. Obviously extracurriculars and having a social life is very important, but at the end of the day, I think that a lot of students do have their mindset towards their studying. And if you do get too off track, just kind of what I would do is if I think I took too much time doing an extracurricular or if I was like staying there for too long or something like that, if I realized I was behind on anything or if I didn't do so well on a test or a quiz, then I'd kind of realize like, oh, I'm now putting too much time into extracurriculars and having a social life. And homework and studying will always be my first priority. And obviously there's going to be so many more opportunities to do things with your friends. Even though if, you know, that was like a big one that you really wanted to go to, there's always more things you could do, especially like throughout the rest of the school year. But obviously you can't retake a test. I mean, some teachers like will let you do it just because if you're lucky, but most of the time that's not going to happen. So your homework and studying should always be like your number one priority, in my opinion. Another very important thing is what colleges see. So I know a lot of students that would join like honor societies and extracurriculars, just like have just be in a bunch of them. I knew someone that was in like 8 different honor societies. And I think that like the college admissions offices, they've been doing it long enough where they can kind of tell that, you know, you're not doing it because you want to be in it, but just because you've just to have more on your resume and like your college applications. So they'd rather see you do something that you're more passionate about and something that you actually really do find interest in, because that shows that you have like this passion in this one thing. So then when you go to like their college or whatever, they can see that dedication that you have to whatever that you like. And they love to see that reflected on their campus as well. And same with social events, especially at school. I've been taught by like my college counselors that students that are very social or active in their like school community, they love seeing that on their application as well. And actually one of my college counselors told me that grades is only 50% of your application. They love seeing students that are like very social and participating in school events and volunteering and things like outside of school as well. Just because they love to see that in their community as well. And they're hoping to see that contribution to their school. And then a very important thing that I will always emphasize to like my little sister is knowing your health and prioritizing that, because if that's not at the top of its game, then everything else will not go as well. So a big thing is having a break after school. I know I would get really stressed at school because maybe if I took a really long test, it'd make me super tired. Or if I had a test coming up, then I'd be like super stressed that I have to study a bunch and go to school next day hoping that I studied enough. So I think that taking a break after school is definitely like a huge reset. It's, kind of just giving yourself a break, just calming down, and then getting ready to do more schoolwork. Another big thing is sleep. There's so many times where I have gone to sleep at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and same with a bunch of my other students. And that was something that I didn't really understand at first, how important sleep is. But as I continued through high school, a lot of my teachers told me, and I like understood that sleep is so important, because if you don't have enough sleep, then your mind and your brain is not going to be at the top of its game. And that will definitely affect you throughout the school day. It's going to make you so tired, and you won't be able to focus on anything. I know that's happened to me once, where I just could not focus on anything, and I knew that it was because I didn't get enough sleep. And especially when you have like a test, that one's very difficult, because you are studying for that test, but because you didn't sleep enough, you're not going to do as well on it, or in most cases, that lack of sleep will definitely take a toll on you and your grades. So I think that's super important. And then eating the right foods, that's definitely very important as well. Just eating the right things. I think that also a lot of students don't do as much, just because they get stressed and tired, and so they just want to eat like food that will make them feel well. So just make sure that you're eating, like your fruits and vegetables and all that stuff, so that you get those nutrients, so that you stay very energized. Same with water. Water is so important. I see so many people not drink their water, and I'm always like, just drink your water, because you get so much energy just by drinking water, and it's super refreshing. But obviously, don't be afraid to treat yourself, because everyone deserves it. Everyone's working hard in school. And yeah. All right. So I hope that helped and gave a little insight on high school and staying kind of calm and relieving some of that stress. So if you have any questions, you can DM me on Dylan Cadillac on Instagram, or if you want to email me, my email is dylancaddy8@gmail.com. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Dylan. Now we have Kashish, who has participated in a variety of extracurriculars and has graduated with many accolades, including participation in a grant writing team and had an internship in a hospital in Vietnam. She's also president of the school's Makerspace Club and founded her own bakery, Infinite Love Bakery.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Kashish Atmanathan, and I'm sharing how I survived high school. Okay. So the reason I put this quote here is because I wanted to stress the importance of how important it is to start working on your resume right away. No matter where you may be in your high school journey, you can always participate in a variety of events that can make you a stronger candidate for a college application. Okay, so my first tip is to be enterprising in your high school. And this is mostly going to be useful when you're trying to get an internship or a project. And first of all, don't be afraid to talk to your teachers. They are your biggest connections. And the first step in building any good resume is to make connections. After you've participated in a few events, you want to create a sort of mini resume that has a summary of these events, and always keep a copy or two with you in a folder. So if an opportunity were to present itself, you would be ready and prepared. When looking for an internship, you want to have a specific idea of what exactly you're trying to look for. So instead of saying you want to work in a lab, you would say, I wanted to work in an animal biology lab, maybe in even a particular institution. And in order to find out what faculty to talk to, you want to learn more about them. Maybe what universities they went to, where they studied, or even what subjects they majored in. This will help you build the connections that are specific to what exactly your career is going to be. Okay, so when asking a teacher for an internship, you want to make sure to maintain eye contact and express your intentions clearly. What this basically means is don't include filler language or a bunch of empty gaps that are awkward. You want to be clear and concise. You don't want to distort the meaning of what you're trying to say by things you didn't say. And when professors or an industry professionals see that you're making eye contact and talking clearly, that shows them that you have confidence and that you will be committed to whatever opportunity they give you. And when presented a piece of information or an internship, question with it. Engage in the material. The more you show interest, the more engaging and rewarding the experience will be. Okay, so I actually had my own personal story with this, and it started in my sophomore year when I talked to my biology teacher about getting an animal biology internship at ASU, and she was able to connect me with a friend of hers who was doing her PhD there. And I worked in that lab all summer, and I slowly started getting involved in the STEM clubs at our school and doing science projects. And because of my interest in science, I was invited to a conference in Boston the summer of my junior year. And at that conference, I was able to listen to physicians and biologists all over the world speak. And there I was offered an internship abroad in a hospital in Vietnam, where I got to intern for 2 weeks. And all of this started just because I expressed my interest to a teacher. Okay, so there's nothing more beautiful than someone who goes out of their way to make life beautiful for others. Community service. For a lot of colleges, community service is a tiebreaker, and over 60% of colleges will take a candidate that has been a leader in their community over one that has strictly academic records. And it's easy to get involved in your community. That can be volunteering at a school event, maybe managing a local sports team, or volunteering with your family. But do take time to show up at these events and help others out, because it makes a huge difference in your college resume. Also, multiple colleges even offer scholarships for students who've taken action in their community, some including the Chandler Impact Scholars or the Coca-Cola Foundation. And one of the first questions I've gotten in the college interviews that I've done is, tell us a time when you took time to help others out, or tell us a time when you took an initiative in your community. It makes a huge difference to your resume, and I strongly recommend all of you do some community service. Okay, so the next part is going to be about your resume. First of all, consistency is key. You don't want a variety of clubs all over the place and all in your junior or senior year. Colleges would much rather see you do 2 or 3 clubs that are tailored towards a common goal. And they don't want to see that you're trying to make up like kind of fake events for your resume. They want to see who you are. And also try to keep your resume short. Often if it's over 2 pages, colleges won't even take the time to look at it. And in order to make it easy to read, you want to categorize your involvement so that maybe in an interview, when they refer back to your resume, you know that it's easy to read and they can find events that they're looking for. You also want to list the time of involvement, provide contact information, usually on the first page, top center, and provide references. But also in the end, you want to include 7 or 8 keywords to describe yourself. And these words describe to the college how you view yourself, and it reveals your attitude and aptitude and how you would fit on their campus. Okay, so the last tip I have is good study resources. And the one thing I would recommend getting at the beginning of the year is the Princeton Review AP Prep Book, just because it has tips that are helpful throughout the year. And I found it extremely useful because it had memorization devices and different study tips that help me understand concepts. And Crash Course and Pink Monkey are better for summaries and study guide explanations. And yeah, that's how I survived high school. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope it was engaging and helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kashish. Next we have Mia, who will speak about dealing with high school expectations, coping with stress, and managing time wisely.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be speaking today. Next. So I'm going to be talking about stress, stressors, coping with stress, expectations that arise in high school, whether it be ones you put on yourself or ones that others put on you, and management. Next. First, I want to talk a little bit about what stress is. It's the feeling of tension or pressure in adapting to or resisting change. It's our body's response to protect us against perceived dangers or threats, a way of rising to a challenge or preparing us to meet a tough situation. So, stress isn't always a bad thing. Stress is actually really good when you have a timed essay and you want to focus and zone in and get that done. Some stress can give us motivation, it gives us extra energy, and that's eustress, which is the good stress. And then we have distress, which is when it's the stress that impairs our focus, and it really gets the best of us. For example, if you have a huge project and you're constantly focusing on this project, that can put you in a lot of stress, and that's not beneficial at all, because that can really damage the brain and organs, and I'll get into some side effects of stress later. So I'm going to talk a little bit about stressors, and I have a few questions for you guys. This you don't have to answer, obviously, but have you guys ever had something due and you were trying to do the best on this thing, and you were so focused that you couldn't eat, or you just had a really bad stomach ache, or you just couldn't sleep? So I'm going to be talking about stressors such as test scores, GPA, extracurriculars, sports, and popularity. So test scores can be a stressor because obviously, for example, if you want to do well on your SAT, you're going to study really hard for that, and you're going to do your best to focus on putting your mind to that. And that can be a huge stressor because that can cause this uneven thing between a healthy social life and school life. And GPA can be a stressor because, having a good GPA is really good for colleges as well. And then extracurriculars. So if you're playing sports, which I know a lot of people do play sports, sometimes you have a lot of homework, and then you have like a baseball game that you need to practice for. And obviously we're in high school, so popularity is something that a lot of people focus on. How many likes does your Instagram post get? How many comments does it get? And that can cause a lot of stress on high schoolers as well. So I'm going to be talking about balancing stress. So some things you can do to balance stress include exercising, eating well, getting sleep, challenging your thoughts, active relaxation, and practicing healthy habits. So for example, you can play a sport, go for a quick walk, practice yoga. You can do some dancing in your room just to let off some steam, and eat well, nutrient-dense foods, which helps you maintain a steady mood, and it reduces stress. And getting sleep is really, really important because that helps with physical and mental restoration. It helps you have a clearer mind, and it also allows you to be more focused. And challenging your thoughts. So here I wrote, don't confuse feelings with facts. What I mean about that is sometimes we can put ourselves down when we're really stressed and we don't think we have what it takes to get good grades or do well on a test. And it's good to know that those are not facts. Like, you can do it, you got this. And active relaxation includes meditation, using breathing techniques, and doing slow, deep breaths. And you can also practice healthy habits. You can play music, you can do art, and you can do journaling and express your thoughts. So journaling is really good because that's a healthy way to just let out everything that you've been thinking about, things that stress you out, things that are bothering you. And it's a much better alternative to unhealthy coping skills. And personally, like, I like to read a book when I'm stressed or play my saxophone or something like that. And I have my own ways of coping, obviously, but I wanted to ask some friends about ways they coped as well. And a few of them told me that during school, they would get really stressed and forget to eat dinner, or they didn't have like the healthiest relationship with their family because they're so focused on school, or they just wouldn't get any sleep at night. And even if they studied super hard the day before a test, they couldn't remember anything that they studied for. So all of these are really good to stay healthy and be successful. Next. So next, I'm going to be talking about time management. So time management is super important in high school so that you can get everything done without overworking yourself and putting too much of a workload on yourself. So time management, you need to get organized. You need to make a schedule that's feasible to you. So organize the projects that you have, or papers, whatever it is, according to due dates. Know what the most urgent thing is to do, know what's important, and know what isn't important so that you can prioritize. Set time limits. So if you have a paper due in a few days, just sit down and take an hour to focus on that one thing and don't have any distractions, like no phone, nothing. Just focus on the one thing that you sat down to do. And knowing your limits. It's really important to know when you're stressed, to acknowledge that, and to take time to rest and practice those de-stressors that I talked about. And of course, take breaks. It's okay to, like, after you sit down to do that time thing, take a break after, or take a 5-minute break between that and doing other activities as well, so you don't put a lot of stress on yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mia. Now we have Zeal, who will be speaking about her major map and the classes that she's taking, as well as how PreMed students can get involved in internships and pre-health organizations.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zeal, and in my presentation today, I will be covering like a brief introduction of what I did in high school. I'll be also covering what classes I took in my freshman year in college. I'll be also talking about my experiences of my internships, and I will be also giving some tips for pre-health students. So I'll just cover what I did in high school. So I went to Bryce Valley High School. I was part of the CREST Bioscience program. I graduated with all honors and AP Science and Math courses. Some of the clubs I was involved in were National Honor Society, Future Health Professionals, SOUS, Link Crew, Bioscience and Mentorship. I also played badminton and soccer. I recommend all the high school students to branch out and volunteer and look for community service opportunities. Also, you don't have to be involved in everything, but try to branch out and then be open and get involved in as many things as possible. Currently, I'm going to be a sophomore this upcoming semester at Arizona State University. I am majoring in biological sciences with the emphasis of biomedicine. I want to be a doctor in the future, anesthesiologist, so it doesn't end here. So I have to go 4 years of medical school after my undergrad and 4 years of residency after. So here is a picture of my major map and what it looks like. So as you can see, it's broken down into 2 terms, my term 1 and term 2. It basically has list of classes that are required by each student with this major to be completed by each term. So in first term, we have LIA, which is student success class that every freshman in a college basically takes. But it depends with your major. Another one is Bio 281, which is a general bio class, general chemistry, Chem 113, and then you were required to take English 101, which I took, and stats. Say I didn't have to take stats personally because I took it in high school and I got the AP credit for it. So instead of stats, I took calculus, which is mentioned in term 2 here, Math 251. I also took Bio 282, Chem 116, English 102, and since I already took Calc, I took Psychology 101. And to fulfill my SB and G requirements, I also took another psychology class and a global health class, which fulfilled my requirements for the SB and G credits. Now I'm going to be talking about my internship that I did at Mayo Clinic. I did this internship after my junior year, the summer between my junior and senior year. I worked under Dr. Tokish and Bryn Goldberg, who is a nurse there and head of the department. I worked under orthopedic department. I was working with a couple other interns on a research project, which was focused on some stem cells and stem cell therapy. This was a good exposure to healthcare field because I've never done an internship in a healthcare medical field. So I was really thankful for this opportunity that I got to shadow Dr. Tokish. I knew what a day in the life of a doctor looks like. I observed everything, knew the job comes with a lot of stress. Again, it's not made for everyone, so experiencing this at an early age helped me confirm that the fact that yes, I do want to go to med school and pursue this in the future. Again, not everyone wants to do this, and people may think that they want to go to med school just because they like the idea of being a doctor and don't really realize that the job comes with a lot of responsibilities, and they may not realize it's actually not what they want to do in the future, and because they might not like it. Therefore, I think it's really important to experience this at an early age so that you can decide whether you want to do this in the future or not. Another internship that I am currently doing is at SCASO Integrity Pain and Wellness. It's a clinic that deals with pain management. We usually see patients that are suffering from chronic pain and PTSD. I started as an intern. I currently work as a front desk and medical assistant. I'm really thankful for this opportunity again because I learned so many new things. I learned the business and the administration side of this medicine. This really inspired me to add a business minor to along with my major. Also, no one really teaches you the admin side in medical school, so this was a really good exposure. I personally believe that you got to start somewhere and go on from there. So it doesn't have to be like something big. It could be like anywhere from like a small opportunity, like helping out at a community service event, or helping out at or just volunteer at a hospital, for example. I used to stay there and hang out on slow days, even when we had barely any patients, so we didn't learn much. But again, people may think it was boring, but you should know that you can learn from anything. It could be something really small. So you just need to be open-minded and just be thankful for the opportunity. And you just got to be willing to learn in general. So some of the tips that I have for pre-med students who are interested in pursuing medicine in the future, I recommend students getting involved in internship and pre-health organization so that they can get early exposure and they can get hands-on experience. For this, I would recommend talking to your high school advisor or college advisor or any advisor in general, and they can let you know if there's an opportunity for you to volunteer or join in. At my school, we had a college and career specialist. Her name was Cindy Smith, and she personally helped me find the internship at Mayo Clinic. And we also had, for juniors and seniors, each year we had a college and career fair where there were like about 30 to 40 different colleges having like booths set up in the cafeteria, and then we would just go around and ask colleges, different college reps questions, and they would be willing to answer. And then I personally think it was really helpful because you could see what each college had to offer, and you could find which college fits best to you and whichever interests you, and you can ask them for their early application process or any questions in general that you might have. Another tip is look for opportunities. Always keep an open mind for any opportunities coming in your way. And the last tip I have is to be open-minded and willing to learn. I personally believe that if you're open-minded, you can excel in anything. Nothing is small. Anything from really little, you can learn a lot of things just from something really tiny. For example, just volunteering at an event after school for a club or anything like that. You can always build up from that. Well, that's it for my presentation. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Now we will begin our Q&A session with Estella MC Sohani.
Hi, thank you. Thank you to everyone for coming today, taking their time out of the day to come to this I Survived High School event. So as Ananya mentioned, we will now be doing the Q&A. The Q&A will be split into two pairs, so Dylan and Mia, and then Zio and Kashish. If anyone has any questions that they want to ask to any of the speakers, feel free to put it in the chat and we will address them. But until then, I will ask the first question to Dylan and Mia, which is, if there is one thing, whether it be a skill or a tip, that the audience should take away from this event, what would it be? So Dylan can go ahead and go first if she's ready.
Probably a tip to take away from this event. That's a good question. There's a lot of good things.
While you're thinking, we can go ahead and ask Mia if she has an answer.
Probably a good tip from the whole thing that I'd say. That's a really good question because there was a lot of things.
Well, then you can give me a couple.
Probably just, I know it's kind of coming from mine again, but just kind of knowing having an idea of what you want to do when you like go into like there was some talk about like resumes and kind of just use your resources as well. I think that a big thing that I didn't cover was how important your teachers are. Teachers are like so important. A lot of people, like students, are scared to talk to their teachers that I've seen. So I think that using your teachers is so important because none of them are really against you, even if you feel like they don't like you or something like that. None of them are like actually gonna hurt you in any way in terms of like your grades or like resumes and applications, and just they're all like there to give you resources. So I think that's very important.
I definitely agree. Okay, so Mia is having trouble with the computer right now. So until then, we can go ahead and ask you another question if you're ready for that. So what is the most important thing that you've learned throughout your journey in high school, starting from freshman year up till now?
Me again?
Yeah.
Okay. The most important thing I learned from freshman year to now is definitely that grades are important, but they're not everything. I feel like going into high school, that was something that's always pounded, I feel like, into a lot of kids' like minds. and it really isn't everything because like a lot of people mentioned that when colleges look at your resume, they're not like only going to look at your grades. It's a mix of everything. So just being like doing a bunch of other things while also still focusing on your grades, obviously, but yeah, not just making sure that you're um, you know, like staying healthy and like doing things that are also fun for you as well.
Great. Mia's back too, so we can go ahead and ask her the question that I asked you. So Mia, if there's one thing, whether it be a skill or a tip, that the audience should take away from this event, what would it be in your opinion?
I would definitely say putting yourself first. And yes, while school is really important, I think you're obviously the most important thing. And if you're not healthy and focusing on yourself, everything else isn't going to come together. And just making sure you can understand like your limits and know when to take breaks and just, yeah.
Okay. Another question for both of you. How helpful has your counselor been in your success in high school?
For me, my counselor, especially during this junior year, they've been pretty good just because this is the most I've talked to them. Unfortunately, both of them are leaving. But for what I had like talked to them about, they are also very, they put a lot of their focus onto putting yourself first. And through them, it's where I really learned that grades aren't everything that the college applications are going to see. So yeah, my counselors have been pretty good about that and making sure that we have a life outside of school as well, because if you don't have that, it could be really detrimental to your health because you're going to need like that experience and stuff like that once you leave high school and are out in the real world and stuff like that.
And Mia, your take?
I actually met my counselor this year, sophomore year, and she was really sweet. She told me that, yeah, it was important for me to go talk to her, whether it be about college information or just to hang out with her and say hello, because she's probably going to be writing a letter of recommendation for me. And so, yeah, the connection is really important. And she was also really great because she gave me my transcript and talked about like the PSATs and then doing the SATs next year. So she was really helpful with all of that.
Great. So I have a question for Mia. How do you isolate and get rid of the bad stress so you can still keep the good stress?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
How do you isolate the bad stress and get rid of that so you can still keep the good stress that's great for testing and all of that?
Right. So isolating the bad stress, that's when you need to realize when like your normal like schedule and patterns are changing. I think it's really important to notice that so that you can acknowledge it and figure out how to get rid of that bad stress. And that good stress is kind of stress that kicks in the moment when you need to get something done, or you need to focus on something like giving a presentation or something. So yeah.
Great, agreed. I agree. And then for Dylan, we have a question. What positive impacts have you noticed in your life once you started balancing your time? Is Dylan here? Okay. I guess she isn't. So let's see. Until then, we can go back to Zio. So
I have no clue what just happened.
okay, never mind. So do you want me to say the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what positive impacts have you noticed in your life once you started balancing your time?
Oh, that's a good one. Definitely less stress. Once you kind of figure everything out, it just becomes like it doesn't weigh on your mind as much as it has. But especially with that, I feel more. I love like school spirit and stuff. So I feel that like doing things at school that are like extracurriculars and also having that social life, is also very important. And I think that when you're like balancing all of that together, you could still have so much fun. And I think that's so important throughout your high school career because, you know, you can make so many memories through that. And just like knowing that you have everything in line just kind of puts my mind at ease as well, just so that I'm not too stressed about making sure I have to study for this and go do this cross country race and all that stuff. So balancing all that is super important, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Now we'll have a quick Q&A with Zeal and Kashish. So we have a couple questions for you. So the first question for both of you is, what is the most important skill that you should take from high school and apply to your college lives?
I'll go first. Personally, I believe getting involved would be really important because when you're in high school, you're thinking about applying to college, right? So you want to build your resume so that the only way you could do that is be involved and just like be involved in multiple organizations or something you really like or something you're really, really passionate about. So I think being involved in those things and putting and giving your 100% and then just having that experience and putting that on your resume is a really good way to show how much of a overall person you are and how you're involved in your community by volunteering or just like doing community service, and having all that is really important, I would say.
I think all the tips that applied in high school still continue to apply in college. Like a lot of people say like college is the place where you make your life, like your lifelong friends, or like you find the thing that is your passion. So not focusing only on your grades, but also like knowing the environment that's around you, who you're surrounded by, what opportunities they can give you is super important. And I think that also not being too stressed by your grades, but like definitely giving them more attention than you did in high school, just because like it's career defining now, but still taking the time to like go out with friends, maybe go to a football game or like maybe see an event that you wanted to see or a concert, but still keeping time to socialize and putting like effort into your academics is super important.
Definitely. We have one more question for both of you. What is one myth about college admissions that you can debunk?
I personally think it would have to be that your grades are really important, like your grades. Because when I was applying to college, I heard like a lot of my like a lot of people just like saying like grades are really important. You gotta have like 4.0 like to get into like really good schools and stuff. But I don't think that's a reality. I think being a well-rounded overall person is really important to get into like most of the Ivy League schools, because they don't just look at your GPA. They look at how well-rounded of a person you are, or like how many like how you're involved into different things, and how are you benefiting your community by doing like XXX things. For example, like just volunteering or just doing like a lot of community service, that shows that you're dedicated towards helping your community and like helping other people. I think that's really, but like it's a myth that grades are really important. Well, I think being just like an overall well-rounded person is as important as your grades.
Definitely. How about you, Kashish?
Well, I've heard a myth that like a lot of college professors and teachers are like mean and like not helpful. But like the thing is, I've taken like time to contact each of them about the syllabus and like asking them questions about the course and the textbook, and they're super nice. And also, I've heard like a lot of people like don't like counseling in general. Like they feel like the only reason you should go to counseling is if you have a problem. But like I disagree. Like I've talked to my counselor like, I don't know, 4 times already. And like a lot of times we just talk about random things like cooking shows and like things like that. But it just lets you know them better. And also like a lot of people don't go to office hours, I've heard. And a lot of my teachers that I've contacted were saying how they give a lot of tutoring tips and like even tips on how to do well on the test in their office hours. And I feel like that whole idea that teachers are like not helpful in college like they're in high school is just like wrong. Because like I haven't even started yet and they've already proven so helpful.
Great, thanks. So that's the end of our Q&A session. Now we'll be moving on to a scavenger hunt activity, which the breakout room leaders will explain more about. And a few minutes before the breakout rooms end, there will also be a survey link that will be sent out to the chat. So make sure to look out for that and fill that out. Thank you so much.
Are we ready for breakout rooms?
Yes, we are.
Yes.